So what we're going to look at right now is we're going to look at multiplying and dividing integers. So before we look at the negatives, we're going to look at what it means for multiplying and dividing positives. So if we think about what 3 times 4, or what 4 times 3 means, well, 3 times 4 is 3 groups of 4 or 4 groups of 3. So here I can represent this, the order doesn't matter, through the commutative property. So I can represent this saying, okay, it's 3 added 4 times. Or I could flip it around and do 4 times 3, which is 4 added 3 times. And both of those give me an answer of 12. Doesn't matter which way I do it. So multiplication can be represented as repeated addition. So if I think about it with negatives, it's the same idea, but instead of adding a bunch of positives, we're adding negatives. So negative 3 times 4 could be negative 3 added 4 times. So I've got 3 negatives, 3 more negatives, 3 more negatives, and 3 more negatives, which gives me a total of 12 negatives. Or here I've got 4 negatives, plus 4 more negatives, plus 4 more negatives, which gives me a total of 12 negatives. So multiplying a positive times a negative, or a negative times a positive, either way does not matter, equals a negative. We have a negative times a positive, you've got a negative result. Negative times a positive, negative result. And commutative property, that order doesn't matter. So, the product of two integers with opposite signs, you have a positive and a negative, or a negative and a positive, is negative. So we're just doing our basic multiplication. Negative 10 times 4 is negative 40. 4 times negative 6 is negative 24. 7 times negative 9 is negative 63. Negative 8 times 9 is negative 72. So now let's look at, now let's look at the product of two negative integers. Look for patterns. So the product of two negative integers, here, let's first start with a negative times a positive. So negative 4 times 3 would be negative 12. Negative 4 times 2 would be negative 8. Negative 4 times 1 would be negative 4. And negative 4 times 0, well, anything times 0 is 0. So let's look at this now. We had negative 12, then negative 8, negative 4, and then 0. Each time, we're actually going up by 4. And each number is just going down by 1. So 3, then 2, then 1, then 0. Now we're moving into negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. So the pattern should continue in the same way. So 0 plus 4 would give me positive 4. Plus 4 would give me positive 8. Plus 4 would give me positive 12. So we have negative times a positive gave us a negative. Now we've got a negative times a negative, which actually gives us a positive. Which, if we actually group this into something different, not just looking at negative times negative, we can say the product of two integers with the same side, because positive 2 times positive 4 is still going to give you positive 8. It's always going to be positive. So a positive and a negative will give you a negative result. Positive and positive, or negative and negative, will give you a positive result. So positive times positive equals positive. Negative times negative also equals positive. So negative 6 times negative 12 is negative 72. Negative 8 squared, well, that's negative 8 times negative 8, so two negatives, which make a positive 64. Here I'm going to break this into parts. 4 times negative 5 is negative 20. Now I'm multiplying negative 20 times negative 8. Well, a negative times a negative is a positive. 20 times 8 is 160. Negative 4 times negative 5 is positive 20. A negative times a negative. Negative 5 to the third power, well, let's think about what that is. Negative 5 times negative 5 times negative 5. Well, here, negative 5 times negative 5, a negative times a negative is a positive, so that's positive 25 times a negative 5. So positive times a negative is going to be a negative 120. 25. And then 7 times negative 1 is 7. Negative 7, sorry. Dividing integers, it's the same exact thing because division is just the opposite of multiplication. So dividing integers, the quotient of two integers with the same sign is going to be positive. So if it's two positives or two negatives, it'll have a positive result. So negative 12 divided by negative 4, negative divided by a negative is a positive 3. Negative 32 divided by negative 8, negative divided by a negative is a positive 4. Positive 100 divided by positive 2 is positive 50. And negative 28 divided by negative 4 equals positive 7. Then the quotient of two integers with different signs. Two integers with different signs. So a positive times a negative or a negative times a positive is negative. 54 divided by negative 3. So a positive divided by a negative is going to be a negative. 54 divided by 3 is 18. Over here, just a long line on accident. Negative 42 divided by positive 6. Negative divided by positive is negative. 42 divided by 6 is 7. Negative 39 divided by positive 3. Negative divided by positive is negative. 39 divided by 13 is, or 3 is 13. And then here, negative 44 divided by 4. Negative divided by a positive is a negative. 44 divided by 4 is 11. And let's not worry about this part right now. Just go ahead and practice that.